Hi, welcome back to Google Class. I am James here. Today I am going to take class section 304A of Indian Penal Code. Okay, this section explained about causing death by negligence. Section 304 explained whoever causes the death of any person by doing any rash or negligent act not amounting to culpable homicide shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 2 years or with fine or with both. Okay, 304A punishment how many years? Only 2 years. Sometimes both fine and imprisonment. So this section 304 was inserted in the Penal Code Amendment Act 27 of 1870 to cover those cases wherein a person caused the death of another by such acts as a rash or negligent, but there is no intention to cause death and no knowledge that the act will cause death. The case should not be covered by section 299 and 300. Only then it will come under this section. The section provides punishment of either description for a term which may extend to 2 years or fine or both in case of homicide by rash or negligent act. So in this section, essential ingredients of 304A is following. Number 1, death of a person. Number 2, death was caused by accused during any rash or negligent act. Number 3, act does not amount to culpable homicide. And to prove negligence under criminal law, the prosecution must prove the existence of duty, a breach of the duty causing death. Okay, and last one, the breach of the duty must be characterized gross negligence only. Okay, and the section deals with homicide by negligence. One example I will give you. A bus driver went on moving even when children in a line were crossing the road. One of them died. The trial court and High Court applied section 304 part 2 because the driver must have had knowledge that he was likely by his act to cause death. But the Supreme Court applied section 304A. There was no voluntary causing of death in the case. Okay, this is one of the example. It is suitable for 304 part A. Okay, there was no voluntary causing of death in the case. Okay, and another thing here, concept of negligence in civil and criminal law. What are the concepts? The jurisprudentially, the concept of negligence differs in civil and criminal law. What may be negligence in civil law may not necessarily be negligence in criminal law. For negligence to amount to an offense, the element of mens rea must be shown to exist. For an act to amount to criminal negligence, the degree of negligence should be much high degree. A negligence which is not of such a high degree may provide a ground for action in civil law but cannot form the basis for the prosecution. To prosecute a medical professional for negligence under criminal law must be shown that the accused did something or failed to do something which in the given facts and the circumstances no medical professional in his ordinary sense and prudence would have done or failed to do. Okay, this for example. And another one, for an act of negligence to be culpable criminal law, the degree of such negligence must be higher than what is sufficient to prove a case of negligence in civil action. Judicial pronouncements have repeatedly declared that in order to constitute an offense, negligence must be cause in nature. And another thing of this section, rash or negligent act, how it will be. The term negligence is not defined in the code. Okay, as per straight J, the criminality lies in running the risk of the doing such an act with recklessness or indifference as to the consequences. Criminal negligence is the gross and culpable neglect or failure to exercise that reasonable and proper care and precaution to guard, GUARD, against injury either to the public generally or to an individual in particular, which having regard to all the circumstances out of which the charge has arisen. It was imperative duty of the accused person to have opted. Okay, it may be stated that negligence is the omission to do something which a reasonable man, guided upon those considerations which ordinarily regulate the conduct of human affairs, would do, or doing something which a reasonable and prudent man would not do. Okay, and another thing, the distinction between the rashness and the negligence is that while in the former the doer knows about the consequence, but in the later the doer is unaware of the consequences. That's all. A rash act is a negligent act and done precipitately. Negligence is the genus, that is means sick, sic, sick, or which rashness is the species. Okay, it has something been observed that in rashness the action is done precipitately, that the mischievous or illegal consequences may fall, but with a hope that they will not. The section explicitly lays down that only that act which is so rashly or negligently as to endanger human life or the personal safety of others shall be punished. Thus, the section itself carves out the stand of criminal negligence, intended to distinguish between those whose failure is culpable and those who conduct, although not up standard, is not deserving of punishment. Okay, this example is okay, rash and negligent. And another part, the not amounting to culpable homicide. Okay, not amount to culpable homicide. In this section 304 is directed at offences outside the range of section 299 and 300, and obviously contemplates those cases into which neither intention nor knowledge enters. For the rash or negligent act which is declared to be a crime is one not amounting to culpable homicide, and it must therefore be taken that intentionally or knowingly inflicted violence, directly and willfully caused, is excluded. Section 304A does not say that every unjustifiable or inexcusable act of killing not herein before mentioned shall be punishable under the provisions of the section, but it specifically and terms limits itself to those rash or negligence acts which cause death but fall short of culpable homicide of either description. Okay, and another part, doctrine of reasonable care. Doctrine of reasonable care. The court has adopted another parameter, reasonable care. Okay, in determining the question of negligence or contributory negligence, the doctrine of reasonable care imposes an obligation or a duty upon a person to care for the pedestrian on the road, and his duty attains a higher degree with the pedestrian happen to be children of tender years. It is axiomatic to say that while driving a vehicle on a public way, there is an implicit duty cast on the drivers to see that their driving does not endanger the life of the right users of the road, maybe either vehicular users or pedestrians. So they are expected to take sufficient care to avoid danger or others. Negligence means omission to do something which a reasonable and prudent person, guided by the consideration which ordinarily regulate human affairs, would do, or doing something which a prudent and reasonable person, guided by similar consideration, would not do. Negligence is not an absolute term but is a relative one, so it is rather a comparative term. It is difficult to state with precision any mathematically exact formula by with a negligence or lack of it can be infallibly measured in a given cases. Whether there exists negligence per se, per se, or the course of conduct amounts to negligence will normally depend upon the attending, and surrounding facts and the circumstances which have to be taken into consideration by the court. So this is the given case, even not doing what one was out to do can constitute negligence. Okay, this is said is doctrine of reasonable care. And another part, contributory negligence. So we already studied in law of torts very detailed, but in this criminology portion, the doctrine of contributory negligence does not apply to criminal liability. That is, where the death of a person is caused partly by the negligence of the accused and partly by his own negligence. If the accused is charged with contributing to the death of the deceased by his negligence, it matters not whether the deceased was deaf, drunken, negligent, or in part contributed to his own death. So in this connection, see all the para entitled contributory negligence under section 279 Indian Penal Code antedate. Okay, and another thing I just wanted to give you, elaborate you, this doctrine also we already know, res ipsa loquitur. Mens rea also we don't know. The essential ingredient mens rea cannot be excluded from consideration when the charge in a criminal court consists of criminal negligence. Okay, and res ipsa liquidator, this doctrine serves two purposes. One, that an accident may by its nature be more consistent with its being caused by negligence for which the opposite party is responsible than by any other causes, and that in such a case the mere fact of the accident is prima facie evidence of such negligence. The second, it is to avoid hardship in the case where the claimant is able to prove the accident but cannot prove how the accident occurred. Okay, the courts have also applied the principle of res ipsa liquidator in case where no direct evidence was brought on record. Elements of this doctrine may be stated. The element is number one, the event would not have occurred but for someone's negligence. Number two, the evidence on record rules out the possibility that actions of the victim or some third party could be the reason behind the event. Number three, accused was negligent and overt a duty of care towards the victim. Okay, in our current conditions, the law of under section 304 of A of Indian Penal Code and under the rubric of negligence must have the regard to the fatal frequency of rash driving of heavy duty vehicles and of speeding menace. So in this view, it is fair to apply the rule of res ipsa liquidator, of course with care. Conventional defense, except under compelling evidence, must break down before the pragmatic court and must be given short shrift. Looked at from this angle, the court held that the present case deserves no consideration on a question of conviction. The principle of res ipsa liquidator is only a rule of evidence to determine the onus of proof in action relating to negligence. The said principle has application only when the nature of the accident and the attending circumstance would reasonably lead to the belief that in the absence of negligence, the accident would not occur and that the thing which caused injury is shown to have been under the management and control of the alleged wrongdoer. Okay, and another thing, this res ipsa liquidator is only a rule of evidence and operates in the domain of civil law, especially in cases of torts, and helps in determining the onus of proofs in the actions relating to negligence. It cannot be pressed in the service for determining per se the liability for negligence within the domain of the criminal law. And res ipsa liquidator as it all a limited application in a trial on a charge of criminal negligence where a vehicle was being driven on a wrong side and accident took place resulting in death of two persons. The principle of res ipsa liquidator should have been applied. Okay, the famous case Thakur Singh versus State of Punjab, The accused drove a bus rashly and negligently with 41 passengers, and while crossing a bridge, the bus fell into the nearby canal, resulting in death of all the passengers. In this situation, court was applied the doctrine of res ipsa loquitur, since admittedly the petitioner was driving the bus at the relevant time and it was going over the bridge when it fell down. Evidence on record disclosed that the bus had gone and dashed to a standing tree situated on the right side of the road, unless the vehicle had been driven rashly and or negligently. The vehicle, which had no mechanical defect, would not have dashed to a standing tree, that too on the right side of the road. The factum of accident having been admitted in section 313 of the Criminal Procedure Code statement, the legal doctrine res ipsa loquitur gets attracted. Loquitur, L-O-Q-U-I-T-U-R, loquitur. Okay, where a vehicle driven at high speed knocked down the deceased. Another example, the resembling the res ipsa loquitur. In this statement, where a vehicle driven at a high speed knocked down the deceased who was walking on the left side of the road. On breaking the roadside, fencing got stuck up in ditch. It was held that the maximum res ipsa loquitur was applicable and the accused driver could be held guilty of rash and negligent driving. Okay, so the Supreme Court explained the principle in the following verse. The principle of res ipsa loquitur is only a rule of evidence to determine the onus of proof in action relating to negligence. The principle has application only when the nature of the accident and attending circumstance would reasonably lead to the belief that in the absence of negligence in the accident would not have occurred and a thing which caused injury is shown to have been under the management and control of the alleged wrongdoer. The maxim, however, was not applicable to the present case. Another example, the bus moved away while a passenger was trying to board it. He fell down to his injuries. So there could be no presumption of negligence. Okay, it had been further shown that the driver moved away the bus suddenly or before getting signal from the conductor where a car hit a tree, resulting in the death of one of the passengers and injuries to the others. And though the road was sufficient wide and no obstruction was present, and the report of the motor vehicles inspector was that there was no mechanical defect in the car, it was held that presumption as to negligence could be drawn and the burden was on the driver to show that there was no negligence on his part. Okay, these are all available res ipsa loquitur. We discussed many example in this portion. I think it is clear to you, easy to understand. Okay, and another one, high speed. If it is high speed of any vehicle, what will happen? So if driving a high speed is not in itself a negligent act, because in the case of a famous case, Ravi Kapoor versus State of Rajasthan, the appellate court has observed that in this situation, a person who drives a vehicle on the road is liable to be held responsible for the act as well as for the result, and that it may not always possible to determine with reference to the speed of vehicle whether a person was driving rashly and negligently, and that even when one is driving a vehicle at slow speed but recklessly and negligently, it would amount to rash and negligent driving within the meaning of language of section 279 of Indian Penal Code. Okay, and mere driving of a vehicle at a high speed or slow speed do not lead to an inference that negligent or rash driving had caused the accident resulting in injuries to the complainant. In fact, the speed is no criteria to establish the fact of rash and negligent driving of a vehicle. Okay, this was saying high speed. Okay, now it clear in this part section 304 negligence. how it will be happen, what are the doctrines that apply before the Supreme Court and all. Okay, today I am closing this session. We will discuss the same section elaborately, how the medical negligence will be available, how the protected medical negligence means. Before medical professional is held to be liable for negligence, many following ways is available. So I will discuss with next class that portion. Okay, this portion is very easy to understand, because I think you are already studied in law of torts also. 304 is most of the cases are coming accident case. Okay viewers, okay students, we'll meet you again next video class. Bye, thank you.